Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today I thought I'd do kind of a fun video, something that I thought was kind of interesting just to explore the idea of. And, since a lot of movies are getting the sequel treatment nowadays, even movies that came out, 20, 30 years ago, I figured I'd just make a list of maybe 5 films that I thought that could actually do with a sequel, that could actually pull off a sequel, or that I feel could pull off a sequel and do it well. These are also in no particular order. I didn't really rank these in any way. It's just 5 films that I personally chose for this. Now, the first one up is Dread, and this movie was such a sleeper for a lot of people because a lot of people remember the Judge Dredd from the '90s, the one with Sylvester Stallone that was kind of like just corny and cornbally, and he took off the helmet, and it wasn't like the comic at all. Rob Schneider, God damn it, Rob Schneider. And this was really more akin to the grittiness of the comic book. It was down and dirty and scummy, and the movie is just full of wonderful, wonderful gore and action and violence. And the plot of it is so simple. It's so simple and it works so well with that character. I want to see what happens when you expand that universe, because that first movie really only takes place inside peach trees, that one tower that they go up and down. You have a couple of scenes outside of it. But I want to see what the rest of Mega City 1 looks like. I want to see what they can do if they expand that story and go outside and explore a different kind of a story, and maybe introduce some other characters, and not necessarily, maybe have Anderson come back, but maybe also have her, in or out or something like that. Maybe reduce her a little bit and bring in another character. But I think the other thing is that Carl Urban deserves another movie with Dredd because he aced it the first time through. That was so believable. The scowl is so perfect. I don't know how long he must have practiced that in the mirror with a prop helmet, but he got it perfect. So I think that it deserves a sequel for a lot of reasons, and I think that it could work with more than one sequel as well. But you do that down the road. But yeah, again, it's kind of unfortunate that the property has just been kind of left there for so long. I think the original film came out in 2012. And it's just, it's a film that I think is due for that. And I think Urban is still young enough to pull off the role. And he's probably going to be able to pull off the role for a little while longer at least. But he is busy. He's doing The Boys right now, season 2 just came out. I assume that they're probably going to wind up doing a season 3. And any movie roles that he still has coming up. But get him back, get him signed, and make this sequel, because you can do a lot of really good things in the Dredd universe. So now we're going to move past that, and we're going to go into one that actually kind of sparked my idea for this video, and that is Spaceballs. And the reason why is not just because it's so perfect, the idea of Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money, because that basically just describes Disney Star Wars in a nutshell. Is that Mel Brooks is probably not going to be around for too much longer. The man is in his 90s. And I'm not saying he's necessarily in failing health or anything like that, but the man is in his 90s. He's probably not going to be here, 10 years from now. Get this movie written and made while he is alive. Have this be his last achievement or something like that, because you have so much material on the table from the sequel trilogy to make fun of, and even the prequels, if they wanted to include some of that stuff too. But there's so much material just sitting there. Rick Moranis just came out of retirement. Sure, you can get Bill Pullman. I don't think he's doing anything right now. Bunch of people. Obviously, unfortunately, you can't get John Candy back because he's dead, or Joan Rivers for that matter. But I don't know if the actress that played Princess Vespa is still alive. But regardless, get some people back in. Do another movie. Do Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money, because it would be hilarious. And then also have him do a voiceover as a crappy-looking CGI Yoda. That would be so hilarious. If I could see Mel Brooks' voice coming out of that. And also the endless merchandising as well with Spaceballs, the Flamethrower, Part 2. But I really do enjoy the first film. It's got that traditional Mel Brooks style humor, the plays on words, the ridiculous visuals, the stupid horrible crap, but it makes fun of Star Wars so well. And I think it, again, because of the plethora of material that you now have, you can do another Spaceballs and you can make it work with that title on top of it. But like I said, get this done. Get this done while people are still young and or alive. Because this is a movie that should be made at this point because there is so much there to do. And now moving down from that, we go to one that's been discussed actually a lot, but I think it still could work. Is the Goonies? Now, Sean Astin, who played the lead in the original film, has come out and stated that he actually had an idea for a sequel where it was about the children of the previous Goonies. So Corey Feldman and him, and the Dana kid, and maybe Josh Brolin's character, and all those people, but. Yeah, it was supposed to be about their kids and them going on a new adventure, not related to the whole thing with One-Eyed Willie. So if that's the case, I think that movie could work really well. You can pass that torch down if it's written well and if it's directed well and if the person who's doing it knows the feel and the atmosphere of the original Goonies, where you had kind of that goofy, childlike feel to it, in addition to the fact that it was kind of it was the prototypical like little kids join together and go on an adventure type of film. It was the childhood adventure film, and that was kind of everybody's for a while because it was so popular. You had other ones that came around in the '80s too. You had stuff like Monster Squad, which was a little bit later on. I'm trying to think. There was a few other ones. I mean, Stand By Me is kind of a darker version of that, even though both versions actually have Corey Feldman, which kind of weirds me out now. But regardless, the film itself does a really good job at doing that. So if you can do that, and then you can add in that kind of that universe, that idea, maybe these kids grew up hearing these stories from their parents about how they went on this adventure and they found the treasure and the pirate ship and all that stuff. And how they escaped and everything, and did this grand adventure they went on when they were kids, and maybe now these kids have to now find their own adventure to go on, and it's a completely different story with completely different stuff going on, but you still have the Goonies feel. So it's basically, it would be the equivalency of what a sequel would have been back then. But like I said, that's just my take on it because I think there's room to expand that story, and I like Sean Astin's idea for it. So that's really a lot of the reason why it's on this list. Now, the next one is going to be kind of debatable with some people, and that is the Thomas Jane Punisher film from 2004. And the reason why I say this is because I don't count Punisher Warzone as a sequel to that film, because it's a very different kind of feeling movie. It's a very different looking movie, and the Punisher in that movie is very different from Thomas Jane. I think Thomas Jane is far superior. But I think he deserves another chance at the Punisher because that was originally supposed to be his film. And he worked out for a long time. He held out for a while, and then as soon as he let go of the project, that's when, for some reason, the wheels started rolling. And they wound up making Punisher Warzone. Now, I think that he did such a good job at being the Punisher in that 2004 film. He was so much better than he had any right to be. And the action scenes in that, the fight with the Russian, the end fight where he goes through all the guys and kills all the guys in Howard Saint's little mansion there and blows up his cars and stuff like that. It's a perfect ending to a Punisher film. But I think that you can have him come back because of also the short that they did where he was the Punisher again called Dirty Laundry. And if you haven't seen that, that is actually a very, very good film. Well, it's a short movie. It's with him and it's with Thomas Jane and Ron Perlman. But it's this great type of thing where you just see this horrible thing happening to this kid outside, where these horrible things just keep happening outside of this liquor store where Thomas Jane is, and he has like his Punisher van is outside. You don't know he's the Punisher really until the end of the actual short. And all these horrible things happen, and then finally the Punisher has to take his justice, and he proceeds to kill all the guys except for the gang leader, who he breaks both of his legs and one of his arms, and then drenches him in. He had bought a bottle of whiskey. He drenches him in a bottle of whiskey, and then lights a Zippo and puts it on the ground in front of him, and then he just walks away. And as he's walking away, this woman comes up who is a prostitute who this guy beat the living shit out of, a few minutes ago in terms of the time frame of the short film, and she lifts up this hippo and tosses it on him and lights him on fire and kills him, and it's a great ending. And then at the end of it, he gives the shirt to one of the kids, and the kid holds the shirt up, and it's the Punisher Death's Head skull. So I think Thomas Jane can still pull it off. I think he can do a good job as the Punisher. I think he deserves another chance to be the Punisher. Even though I do love John Barenthal, I think that Thomas Jane still deserves another chance to continue with his character. I'd love it if Marvel did the same thing that DC's starting to do, where they had these Elseworld storylines that weren't related to the MCU. You could do that. You can continue on with the Thomas Jane Punisher universe. You can continue on with any of the various Spider-Man universes if you really wanted to, although I'm not giving Disney an excuse to expand that crap any more than they already have. But still, I think it deserves another shot. I'd like to see him play at least another character like that, even if it's not the Punisher. But that's still one of my all-time favorite Marvel films, is that 2004 Punisher movie. So there's that, and then we move on to my last one here, which is again one that's been talked about lately, is the Keanu Reeves John Constantine film. Again, I believe from back in 2005, I want to say, and that movie was for a lot of people, it was their starting introduction to Constantine. For me, it actually was, and I really wasn't, heavily into DC Comics outside of maybe like Batman or Superman, and really even that, it was more the cartoons and stuff at the time. So like that was really one of my first introductions to Constantine and kind of the dark side of the DC universe, outside of Batman. And I liked Keanu Reeves playing him after I found out the actual history of Constantine. Keanu Reeves is nothing like the actual comic book Constantine, but except in the method of his attitude. He seemed like he was very much like he encompassed an attitude I would think of from a John Constantine. And the other thing is, in the movie, they leave it off at the end where you kind of see like, okay, what new adventure is he going to go on now? What is he going to do now that this whole thing he's been doing in this movie is over? And I think that studios might be banking on that a little bit because of Keanu Reeves' resurgence in popularity over the past 5-6 years. So I could see them moving forward with it. I can see a producer maybe trying to go forward with it, but the thing is, they have to make it as dark as they can. It can be wryly comedic and stuff like that, but Constantine is a darker character in DC because of what he deals with. He deals with the paranormal and demons and all this other shit. So I'd like to see if they do something like that. Maybe if you do include a couple other Marvel characters, have them be the darker, not Marvel, DC characters, have them be the darker characters, like from Justice League Dark, like Deadman or Swamp Thing or something like that. But regardless, I think if you gave Keanu Reeves another chance to do that right now, I think that would be a relatively good idea for whoever's trying to push that film at the moment. And again, he just had another relative hit with Bill and Ted. That's been fairly well received. John Wick 4 is coming out. Matrix 4 is going to be coming out. I don't know about Matrix. John Wick is probably going to be good, but the Matrix one might be a little weird. But moving forward from that, I mean, he's just going to be a hotter commodity after the next couple of years anyway. So you might as well line him up for one and just make it after he gets done with the production on whatever films he's doing now. But again, that's just kind of something that I've been thinking about with that film, because I did rewatch it actually recently, and I keep forgetting Shia LaBeouf is in that film, and God, please don't invite him back to come back and reprise that character. Just let him out to pasture. But regardless, that's just kind of my feelings in 5 films I think could use sequels. But I want to know what you think. Are there any films that you think actually deserve a sequel that you would like to see? Do you agree with any of my choices? Do you disagree with them? As usual, put your thoughts in the comments below. I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?